10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast. For the next 2 hours, we will bring you the latest pro wrestling news, in-depth analysis of all your favorite promotions from across the globe, and much, much more. We will also bring you exclusive interviews with the greatest professional wrestling personalities on the local, national, and international levels. If you want to follow the Wrestle Talk Podcast, check us out online at www.wrestletalkpodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And now, it's time for the reigning, defending, undisputed leader in pro wrestling podcast, the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Luke Roberts, the one, the only, here tonight on the Wrestle Talk Podcast. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming on the program this evening and joining us here on all of our great social media outlets. Tonight, we're going to have a very busy show. We're going to be joined by Joe Dombrowski from MLW in the 8 o'clock hour. Again, it's going to be a great show. We've got a lot of things to talk about. We are officially on the road to WrestleMania. And again, a lot of big things happening in the world of professional wrestling this week. Again, we had the Royal Rumble to talk about. We got a lot of other things to discuss as well. Before we get started here this evening, I want to go ahead and remind everybody, we're going to go ahead and make sure that if you're going through here, make sure that you hashtag us. Hashtag WTP, hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling. We've got a lot of great wrestling information here tonight. And again, make sure that when you're taking care of things right now, also as a reminder, make sure to like and share the broadcast. Let your friends, family, everybody know that the Wrestle Talk Podcast is live here on the air this evening. Matter of fact, we've already got some comments here going on to take care of things here. And again, the one, the only, the Night Owl joining us here on the program, tuning in this evening here as a part of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please bear in mind, tonight's going to be a very busy night. Right now, I know for a fact that my broadcast colleague is going to be joining us here in just a few moments, that being the one, the only, the Maestro Jeremy Karp will be joining us here on the program as well. I want to make sure we get things taken care of here this evening for you to let you know what's going on. Real quick here, we're going to go ahead and before we get too much farther along, we're going to go ahead and thank all of our great sponsors, without who the Wrestle Talk Podcast does not exist on a weekly basis. Let me go ahead here, and I want to go ahead and make sure we get those great graphics here to show everybody all of our great sponsors here. We have the Retro Zone. If you have any interest in the world of gaming and make it a point to enjoy a good game now and again, make it a point to check out the Retro Zone. We've also got Painter's Dream Productions. Great, as you can see here on the board, a great website design company. They are run by the one, the only Big Daddy P, who we're going to be seeing here in just a few minutes with the Snippets of Truth. We also are sponsored here and supported by the Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. You can make it a point to check them out with the class of 2025 on Sunday, June 22nd at Andre's Banquet Center in St. Louis, Missouri. 1 p.m. is the start of the festivities. A lot of great inductees this year, including myself, the one, the only Harley Race, Mischief, Jeremy Lightfoot, and many others we're going to talk about here on the program this evening. For more information, if you want to purchase tickets, you can check them out on social media on Facebook. $30 in advance, $35 at the door. Also, Interstate 70 Sports Media, home of the Maestro Jeremy Karp and Roundabout Sports, which you can catch tomorrow evening a great sponsor, a longtime sponsor of the Wrestle Talk podcast. We also have Little Popeye Designs, home of those great Wrestle Talk podcast tumblers. You can make sure to get one of those. They are in limited supply, so you need to make it a point. If you're going to purchase one of those, you need to get those taken care of. Contact the Wrestle Talk podcast, and we'll make sure you get one of those. They are in limited supply, and once they're sold out, they're gone for $20, courtesy of Little Popeye Designs. And last but certainly not least, another sponsor of the Wrestle Talk podcast, the one, the only, the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. Now, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is going to be a very, very big night here. And as a matter of fact, as you see here earlier on, we're going to go ahead here. The Night Owl is going to be a part of the 2025 Hall of Fame. He's going to be there live and in person to help things out. It's going to be a very great time in St. Louis on June the 22nd in St. Louis, Missouri. Let me go ahead here real quick and get a couple things taken care of. Now, again, right now we've got a good amount of people here. Before we get things started this evening, we're going to go ahead here in just a moment, and we're going to go ahead here and get things taken care of. But before we get started tonight, as we always do each and every week here on the Wrestle Talk podcast, we make it a point to honor the greatest country in the world. So if you would please go ahead, take your, remove your hats, put your hands over your heart. And again, as we say here, as we pay homage to the greatest country in the world. So at this point, please join us as we welcome and we honor America with the national anthem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, paying homage to the greatest country in the world, that being America. We've got a lot of great stuff here on the program tonight. Matter of fact, here in just a second, we're going to go ahead here and we're going to talk a lot of things professional wrestling. But before we do, we're going to go ahead here real quick. And I think it's time. I mean, again, you're going to hear me talking about a lot of professional wrestling, but we're going to go ahead and get things started here in just a minute with the point of having the high spot segment here on tonight's program. And again, once again, as a reminder, make it a point. We're going to go ahead and throw us up here one more time. Please make sure to like and share the broadcast. Again, without your support, the Wrestle Talk podcast does not continue on each and every week. And as a reminder, hashtag WTP, hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling. Let's go ahead and, speaking of which, talk about wrestling as we go ahead and introduce this week's segment of the High Spots.
Mic check, mic check. Yeah! All right. Wrestle Talk Podcast. DJ Money. Yeah. Let's go. Welcome to High Spots, where we pop news like lamb chops. We talk shop, coming through the screens of a laptop and non-stop like a runner speeches of blacktop. We hit hard like chair shots and backdrops, like a clock flash, look like a barely fly. Now that's hard. We up the steam while they stay slow. Wrestle Talk Podcast, now they know we about to start the show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you heard right there, the high spot segment here. And again, I would be remiss, AJ Wallace, thank you for stepping up and making it a point, paying tribute to our good friend Nightmare Jones right here. Well, some people might say it's a big headache. Again, we pay homage to the greatest country in the world each and every week. Also, as a reminder, we want to give a shout out to our first responders, our EMTs, our fire professionals, our police officers, everybody who lets things happen to make it a point to make sure this program goes each and every week. And ladies and gentlemen, Susie Haas joining us here, and that's Susie for you, ladies and gentlemen. Make it a point to send out your messages here, because we got a lot of stuff going on here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Let's go ahead here real quick here, and we're going to talk Royal Rumble. We're going to talk about the event that led us to the road to WrestleMania. And again, from top to bottom, I got to tell you, the Royal Rumble really was kind of a interesting event this year. I'm going to level with the viewers of the Wrestle Talk podcast. It was definitely a very challenging event for me to kind of sink my teeth into. I mean, again, we didn't have a ton of names. I think we had like 15 or 16 names in the men's rumble, and we only had about, I want to say it was less than 10 in the women's rumble matchup. And again, I have to say that things are definitely having some props needing to be shared here as it relates to the Royal Rumble itself. The first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the women's Royal Rumble matchup. And as we talk about what's here in the women's matchup, there really weren't a ton of surprises, I guess you would say. It's one of those things where the women's Royal Rumble matchup was pretty challenging to kind of talk about here, because when you sit and you look at it, there were a lot of things going on with this matchup, and I was very impressed in the fact that a lot of the women in this matchup had to go for a significant amount of time. I mean, when you sit here and you look at numbers 1, 2, and 3, that being Io Sky, Liv Morgan, and Roxanne Perez, all three individuals, all three ladies went over an hour. And to give you an idea, Io Sky, 1 hour, 6 minutes, 45 seconds. Liv Morgan, an hour and 7 minutes. And Roxanne Perez, an hour and 7 minutes and 47 seconds. Now, that was, I mean, literally, that was a huge accomplishment when it comes down to them competing. And again, there were a lot of other women who competed in the Royal Rumble matchup who deserve a lot of props. You got Bianca Belair, who was out there for almost 50 minutes. You got Bayley, who was out there over 45 minutes. Naomi, who was out there nearing 40 minutes. Again, a lot of things going on here in the Royal Rumble matchup itself. And as we look here at it, as it stands right now, there were a few surprises. I mean, again, the obvious ones were, number one, the return of Alexa Bliss to the WWE. Very welcome surprise. I mean, again, I don't think a lot of people knew or didn't know that it was going to happen. I mean, again, it was pretty commonplace that we figured that Alexa would be coming back. Again, Nikki Bella was another one that had a lot of people knew what was going on, and Trish Stratus making an appearance in the Royal Rumble matchup. But to me, I think while a lot of people were talking about the Royal Rumble matchup, the one that really stood out to me was Jordynne Grace officially being a part of the Royal Rumble. And as it stands right now, I mean, again, you got to give her props. 22 minutes for her first official match as a part of the WWE roster, and got to give her props for being out there, going out here and looking at it, trying to take care of our notes here on the program. Surprisingly enough, as a lot of people like to talk about, the winner of the shortest tenure in the Royal Rumble for the women's side this year. Just making sure my data is correct. The one who spent the least amount of time was Maxine Dupree with a whopping 1 minute and 20 seconds. Now think about that a minute. 80 seconds. That's all Maxine Dupree was in the Royal Rumble. And as we see right here, we're joined by Brandon Lewis here. Nice to see you here tonight, Brandon. Once again, joining us here on the program. Now, I got to ask you, we're talking about the Women's Royal Rumble matchup. And I want to go here. I know we've got several viewers here in the program. I want to ask you, what was the biggest surprise for you in the Women's Royal Rumble matchup? Go ahead and share it to us on the in the chat. We're going to go ahead and try to share some of those messages here as we go live. Matter of fact, here, checking a few things up here. And right now here, we're taking care of things. Now, as we sit here and we go through things here, we're still waiting for some messages here. Make it a point to share your messages here in the program. We're still waiting for some commentary, some thoughts from you, the viewers. Make it a point to share those with us. Again, hashtag WTP, hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling. Actually, I want to put it out there too, hashtag Women's Royal Rumble. A lot of great things here we can be talking about. We're still waiting here for some messages. To me, I got to say probably the biggest thing was there as we talk about Assad. And thank you, Assad, for starting our conversation, bringing it out there. Nikki Bella and Alexa Bliss. Now, I'm a level with you. I really think that while I'm appreciative, I mean, Nikki Bella is a Hall of Famer. Do not get me wrong. Nikki Bella deserves to be in the Royal Rumble matchup. But to me, I think Alexa Bliss definitely told the story. I mean, coming out wearing the jacket in tribute of the Fiend, really did. I mean, again, kind of a little bit of a play on words of sorts. If you look at the jacket, I believe it had Fiend, but then it had a little itty bitty R for the word friend on the jacket. I really thought that was a very nice fitting touch as it relates to it. And again, when you look at Alexa Bliss coming in, not bad for the first go round. She was first go round being back. She was in there for a little over 11 minutes when it comes to the Women's Royal Rumble. And again, as we're well aware, Charlotte Flair winning the match, and also give Charlotte Flair a shout out, having the most eliminations. I mean, she eliminated 4 competitors. She eliminated Roxanne Perez. She eliminated Michin. She eliminated Nia Jax. And hold on one moment here, trying to see if we can get that 4th elimination. Piper Niven, too. I mean, again, got to give Charlotte her props. But you know, one thing that I was really noticing here, and again, yeah, we got it, Susie, you're right. Bringing out Lily, or I guess you would say a new improved form of Lily. Again, definitely, as things are right now, Lily was definitely a welcome sight, but also Alexa Bliss was as well. And again, talking about how could Alexa Bliss be going to the Wyatt Six? And that's a definite question here. Assad, you know, I would say, and again, I really want to see people's opinion on this one, because to me, I look at it from the perspective of when you talk about Charlotte Flair, a lot of people were happy that she wound up winning the Royal Rumble. And again, shout out David. Nice to see you back here on the program here tonight. To give you an idea, I think that the crowd on Monday Night Raw last night definitely made the statement here. And Night Owl, we are going to talk about the Queen, but you know, I got to tell you, I think it's one of those situations where the fans very quickly have grown to not necessarily agree to like Charlotte Flair, but you got to give Charlotte the props because of the fact that when it comes down to it, We've got a lot of things taken care of here. And as a matter of fact here, we've got just taking care of some things here behind the scenes. I think there's a lot of stuff going on here. Now, as we move on here, and again, we got a couple of messages here. Again, talking about Charlotte Flair. I don't know what everybody's thing is. I mean, Charlotte Flair comes back to the WWE. And again, a lot of people are very happy about it. And I get it. And again, I agree with you, Assad. And we're going to go ahead and throw that one up here as we can see. It kept glitching. And that's one of the things I think we're going to run into a lot of. Hopefully the WWE can take care of that, because I know probably about the last 20 minutes, it was pretty constant. I was hoping it was just my internet connection, but it sounds like it was happening all over the place as relates to the Royal Rumble and to the WWE Raw. Now, the next one was DIY taking on the Motor City Machine Guns, and I'm a level with you, everybody, and just to let you know here, again, Susie, you want Becky Lynch back, and a lot of people want Becky Lynch back. Nobody knows exactly what's going to be there. Also, as a reminder, we're going to be talking about here in the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to be joined by Joe Dombrowski from MLW. We're talking Super Fight 6 here on the program this evening. Now, as we look at things here in the tag team match, and I remember having a conversation as the pay-per-view, or sorry, the PLE. I got to make sure I use the correct language here. As it relates to the PLE, did I like the matchup between DIY and the Motor City Machine Guns? Yes. But to me, being a true wrestling broadcast journalist, as a longtime wrestling fan, I think that matchup was entirely too fast. Looking at things here, I remember back in the day when tag team matches would go 30, 45 minutes. The match with DIY for 3 falls went 14 minutes. And to me, I look at it from the perspective, and thank you, Tyler Cooley, for joining us here on the program, the man who's going to be the MC at the St. Louis Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame on June 22nd. As we take care of things here, I think it's one of those situations where, I mean, it was a great match. I mean, I really liked the back and forth action. I really liked the idea of having the idea of the Street Profits come in and kind of reestablish themselves as a dominant force in the tag team division. But I think things went way, way too fast. And again, I think the fans having the opportunity to absorb what was actually taking place and really kind of give credit and give some props to the tag team division really was kind of a challenge for this matchup. And again, I really hope this isn't the last time we see the Motor City Machine Guns versus DIY. And we're going to talk here. I've had a couple people send things in the chat. We're going to bring those up here in a minute, but pardon me. Right now, as it stands, again, a good solid matchup in the tag team division. A lot of people have been talking about Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. And I got to tell you right now, this match had me on the edge of my seat pretty much for the entire thing. I mean, I got to tell you, we got to see a lot of things that the fans were expecting out of this ladder match. I mean, we got to see really kind of an aggressive side of Cody Rhodes. We got to see probably hands down the scariest thing I've seen in the WWE in quite a while, where it looks like Kevin Owens was folded like an envelope. Again, hopefully Kevin Owens, I mean, we saw him to close out Monday Night Raw last night, but you could tell Kevin Owens was not at 100% as it relates to Monday Night Raw and the issues we had with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Who knows? Maybe that'll be what we're going to wind up getting as we go to WrestleMania. Now, I've had a couple of posts here, and I know we got several viewers here on the program, but I want to throw this out here. And actually, this is kind of an interesting discussion here. We're going to talk about the men's Royal Rumble here shortly. But as we look at it here, we're going to throw a little bit of a question out here. Assad talks about liking a heel Street Profits tag team. The Night Owl, in his previous comment, I like the heel New Day. I got to tell you right now, I think each team both has something to offer, but it makes me wonder because of the fact that when we're looking at things here, right now as it stands, they're both, I think they're welcome and they're a breath of fresh air in both. But I mean, you got to look at it. Right now, you have the heel Street Profits on SmackDown. You have the heel New Day on Raw. And I got to tell you, I like them both. I think they're both great tag teams. And I think especially with the New Day having their new music, their new look, I really wonder where the New Day is going to be going forward. I think they're a very good tag team. I mean, again, double digits in tag team title reigns. But I really want to see on the road to WrestleMania where the New Day winds up fitting into the picture. By the same token, and yes, Assad, who are we talking about here? We're talking about the heel New Day. Also with the Street Profits, I really think that was going to be a great addition. And who knows? I mean, again, my question is this: do we see the Street Profits taking on DIY first, or do we see the War Raiders taking on the New Day? I know for a fact we were talking about the idea of the War Raiders, I believe, are getting ready to take on the Judgment Day again. There's a couple other teams I was talking about American Alpha as well. And again, right off the bat, Susie Haas, love the heel Profits, not totally sold on the heel New Day. I got to tell you right now, after everything that's been going on here for the last decade, we're looking at things from a perspective of how is it that the New Day is going to find a way to keep themselves relevant? And I mean, again, do we want to see a heel New Day? That's for the fans to decide. But when it comes down to it, you're looking at it from a perspective of there's got to be something, because I mean, it's kind of one of those where, ooh, interesting concept here. The New Day, DIY, and the Profits. I don't know if that's going to fly though, Susie. I mean, again, my view is the idea of where are you going to leave the War Raiders at? I mean, right now, I got to say that both teams are carrying their own divisions, but it's two completely different styles. You have the technical style of DIY taking on just the sheer brutal power of the War Raiders. And I mean, again, both of those are great tag teams here. And AJ talking about Stephen E, Lucky P, and Travis Cook hijacking the production truck. Wow. You know, I'm not going to say that too much, because next thing we know is somebody's going to say something to the event of saying the snitch was involved too. And we all know the snitch has got problems with yours truly. So, I mean, again, a lot of things going on here in the world of WWE. And again, a lot of great discussion here. If you have other things you want to add to our discussion of the Royal Rumble or the WWE Monday Night Raw, make it a point to add it here in the comments section. We're going to try to get to them as quick as we can. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about here on the Royal Rumble matchup is the men's Royal Rumble. And it's one of those things where there weren't really a lot of surprises. I mean, when the only non-affiliated, and again, I use that term very loosely, the only person that was not really assigned to a brand was one, John Cena, which we knew that was going to happen. Number two, we have Joe Hendry, which I agree with a lot of my broadcast colleagues in the idea that Joe Hendry is going to be a star. And I know a lot of people are going to start firing up the chats and saying, oh, well, Joe Hendry's already a star. What? And again, thanks, Arsene. Thanks a lot for putting that out there. And again, he is. But I want to use something that one of my broadcast colleagues said before, and I'm just going to level with you. I was listening to another program, and I was listening to Bully Ray, and Bully Ray made a comment which I very much agree with. You're going to be a star as long as you have wrestlers that are going to take you to the next level. And when you talk about Joe Hendry in TNA, you realistically have a big fish in an extremely small pond. I've even heard somebody say it's like having a whale in a puddle. The idea that, I mean, Joe Hendry right now, they say the biggest person right now in TNA that Joe Hendry is going to learn from as of this point in time is going to be Nick Nemeth. Where else do you go from there? Who else on the TNA roster is going to help Joe Hendry take it to the next level? There is the question. Now, am I saying that Joe Hendry is not a future main event level wrestler? No, I think Joe Hendry will be. But it's going to be one of those, I really don't think that we're going to see the true Joe Hendry until he can finally shed the TNA label and in turn make himself a full-time member of the WWE roster. Now, the other one, which I've got to say was probably the moment of the night for many, was I Show Speed being in there at number 8. And all I'm going to say, as my good longtime friend, Big Sexy Chris Rodell put out there, one word: ow. I mean, when you sit here and you look at it, I mean, it was one of those where number one, he basically got speared probably to WrestleMania 42. I mean, Braun Breaker basically everything he could not to cut him in half. Then throws him out of the ring to Otis. And Otis continues by throwing him pretty much through, or no, I won't say through, I would say kind of off, however you want to go about it, the announce table. I mean, he was definitely in a world of trouble when it came down to it. But again, I have to say right now, going through about the first hour and a half of the Royal Rumble, I would probably give the Royal Rumble 2 super kicks out of 5. I think that Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens helped pick things back up. It's scary that match had to bring things back up to a crescendo. And I got to say right now, when you get down to the final 10 wrestlers, you're in a situation where you got a lot of great things going on. I mean, you've got, at one point, you had John Cena, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk in the ring at the same time. And then you bring out Seth Rollins. And I mean, again, when you go back and look at the last 10 wrestlers, and I'm going to start from 20 out. Jey Uso, the return of AJ Styles, Braun Strowman, John Cena, CM Punk, Seth freaking Rollins, Sami Zayn, Damian Priest, LA Knight. All definite main event level wrestlers. Then you get Logan Paul, and I'm going to go back to something was on there from Assad, talking about how they were all excited that Logan Paul was number 30. I'm going to tell you right now, I was communicating with several members of my family, and they're like, why? But I think Logan Paul brings a certain attitude, a certain swagger to the WWE Royal Rumble. And we go out here, and also, of course, we would be remiss if we didn't put out there Dominic Mysterio. And again, right now, a lot of people are saying, was Jay on the card to win? I don't think so. I don't think anybody really had Jey Uso on the I'm going to win the Royal Rumble card. I really don't think so. But as the matches go on, and I mean, you get down to John Cena, Logan Paul, and last but certainly not least, Jey Uso. And I got to say, the ending was very surprising. And it wasn't because of the fact that Jey Uso wasn't main event. It was more of the idea that Jey Uso basically bumped him off the ropes. It was a very simple ending, but I think it was very interesting. And right now, as we see here, we are going to be looking at some people are talking about LA Knight. Arsene talking about because he didn't guess it. You know, Arsene, I would be surprised if you had called anything correctly on this year's Royal Rumble. I know you and I had a discussion, and you were sincerely hoping that Kevin Owens would win the championship. But yet again, you were wrong, but that's okay. That's totally understandable. Like I said, we had a lot of great stuff there. Well, we've got a minute here. We're going to get some things out of the way. We're going to talk Monday Night Raw here in just a few moments. The question I have here is, what was your favorite part of the Royal Rumble? Again, a lot of great things. I would say to me, the men's Royal Rumble saved the Royal Rumble. And it was a great event because of it. We're going to be talking here Monday Night Raw in just a few moments, making sure we get things done. We still got to see here if a couple people are going to be putting out there. He talks about the idea. I got to go back to our broadcast colleague. Out of 3 out of 4, and you know something. 3 out of 4. I don't know if I can truly take that, Arsene. But then again, who knows? And you might have had a good night when it comes to talking about the pay-per-view as well. Like I said, we're going to talk about it. What was the big thing for you as a part of the Royal Rumble? What was your biggest takeaway? We're going to go ahead here in just a minute. We've got I know our scenes out there. I know we got a lot of people who want to talk about the Royal Rumble, but we're also going to take a second here in just a minute, and we're going to talk Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw had a lot of things, and when you sit there and you look at it, we have Susie Haas talking about the return of Alexa Bliss. Susie Haas giving it 3.5 out of 5 super kicks overall. The Night Owl, I don't know how Night Owl you can get away with saying 4.2 super kicks. That's a new one. I mean, I know we've seen a lot of things like that, but 4.2 super kicks. That's definitely something kind of makes me wonder here as it relates to the Royal Rumble. 4.2 out of 5 super kicks. Who knew? Like I said, I think honestly it was a little bit high, but that's okay. Speaking of which, since I know he's kind of hiding around here all over the place, Arsene, what are your thoughts? Right now, as we're looking at here, Arsene trying to put some stuff out here. I'm still waiting for a few of our viewers. Also, make it a point, hashtag WTP, hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling here, to get things ready to rock and roll as we go here with the program. And again, we're going to throw another one out here from the Night Owl. I think this is there. And Night Owl, I want to kind of agree, but disagree with you here. And the reason why is, as far as the Royal Rumble goes, I think it's one of those situations in which we haven't seen this really since the Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30. I mean, I think that's kind of where we're viewing it, but they're actually listening to the fans. And again, I think props to everybody involved with the men's matchup, because without that men's matchup, I don't think the Royal Rumble is actually where it is. Now, a matter of fact, here in just a minute, you know, much like the one, the only Joe Hendry, you say his name and he appears. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to be joined here on the program by the one, the only, the man known as the young lion with the old soul, the one, the only, Gabriel Arsene, joining us here on the program. Now, Arsene, I got to level with you here, my friend. This was one of those matchups that really kind of took me back here. Can you give us your thoughts on what made the Royal Rumble either stand out or not stand out for you?
It's a very tough question to answer, only because I just want to take a moment in a bit to explain, but it's very difficult only because there were so many good makings of a like perfect Royal Rumble, but I feel like all the pieces weren't mixed together properly. So it's like it had everything it needed to be because it had the roster, it had an unexpected choice, it had the surprises, and I feel like the work rate was definitely there. But it seems like a lot of people were really hell-bent on their decisions. And the thing I'm having trouble figuring out, Luke, is the Rumble bad because it didn't cater to everybody's decisions? Or is it just we're not used to it because we don't know what that's going to pay off with? Because I think a lot of people were really hell-bent on either CM Punk winning or Roman Reigns winning or John Cena winning. And then a lot of them got eliminated. And then it was just kind of like, well, who's left? And I feel like it fell apart because a lot of people wanted Cena in that moment and they gave it to Jay instead, which is not to say that there isn't a sizable fan base for Jay Uso. I'm just saying I think that a lot of people are letting their immediate feelings tell how they feel about the match without looking at it as a whole. And this is coming off the back of the last Rumble, which everybody was complaining about, but
Well, Arsene, first of all, I want to give a shout out here to our good friend and fellow Hall of Famer, Doc Lombardi, joining us here on the program tonight. Long time no see, Doc. Again, it's always a pleasure to have you part of the Wrestle Talk podcast family. But, I want to look at something here real quick. You talk about how the Royal Rumble may not necessarily have appeased everyone. My question to you is this. And again, I kind of alluded to it earlier on. Do you think that the men's Royal Rumble matchup or KO versus Cody, your choice, do you think either one of those matches saves the pay-per-view?
That's a loaded question, especially because that implies that the pay-per-view needed saving. And not to say that it wasn't off a bad start with the women's Rumble, because I definitely know we got a lot on that. I think that's the part that most people can agree on when it comes to the Rumble. But I think the DIY match definitely serviced it a little bit. But to really answer your question, I think Cody versus KO saved the pay-per-view. And I apologize. I refuse to call it a premium live event. I think it's dumb. I've been calling them pay-per-views for my life. So no.
Okay, forgot. It's a PLE. We can't call it a pay-per-view anymore. You gotta call it
I don't call it X. I don't do this.
PLE. And you know something, Arsene? We both get this one.
Go!
But you know something here? And I'm going to throw this one out here right now so we got things taken care of. You know what that is. Ladies and gentlemen, the breaking news sounder here on the Wrestle Talk podcast this evening. We were just made aware here a few moments ago that a familiar face makes a return appearance on NXT. The man formerly known as Fandango makes an appearance under the name JDC. I wonder if maybe it's going to go back to the idea of possibly going back to the days of Johnny Curtis, perhaps. I don't know where per se it's going to go, but making an appearance here on the NXT. And you know what? And I'm going to put this up here and hopefully Night Out was Joe Henry. You know something? I'm going to tell you right now, Night Owl, to me, I think the biggest thing why I liked Joe Henry, I think the ending of the world title ladder match was probably my moment of the night. because, I mean, you got to agree with me, Arsene. Kevin Owens basically folded himself into a envelope, and the only time I've ever seen anything worse than that is going to go back to another match of the one Kevin Steen and the ladder war with El Generico when he hit him with the package pile driver on top of ladder number 1, and the ladder bends into ladder number 2. I mean, definitely a very scary situation, but again, that was probably
I would add to that like, I don't know what it is about Kevin Owens that he knows how to make himself look like he's dying while wearing this ladder. Because like you mentioned the ladder match with El Generico when he was going by Kevin Steen. I think about WrestleMania 32 in the Intercontinental ladder match where Sammy, I swear these two just do this. Like they're destined to feud forever, and they're destined to have Sammy kill this man with ladders every single time. But where he hits him with, I think, a fisherman suplex or something, and it's just, he lands on it in the absolute most horrific way you could possibly land on a ladder, and somehow walked away unscathed. Like, well, okay, maybe not fully unscathed, but you know what I mean? Like way, way better off than most people who would take a similar bump like that. So Kevin Owens, thank you for your sacrifice. You really didn't have to.
Well, to give you an idea, our scene as we're taking care of things here, I want to throw a couple things out here. First of all, I want to give a shout out to a face I haven't seen here a lot on the Wrestle Talk podcast. I want to make sure to acknowledge a member of the Wrestle Talk fam, Robert Berkeley, joining us here on the program. And Assad, I got to give you a shout out here because you bring up something here. Talking about the JDC moniker is actually his name. And before we let him go here, Doc Lombardi bringing up something really interesting here before we get things done here, bringing up the idea, would it be nice if we got a payday for promoting our thoughts on the WWF, WWE? I'm going to tell you right now, we're always open for more sponsorships when it comes to the wonderful world of the Wrestle Talk podcast. If you know anybody who would like to sponsor the Wrestle Talk podcast, send them our way.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you there, Roberts. I'm still waiting on my phone call for that Tiffy time clock. All right, I will rock that shit on this program every night. I promise you. I promise you. And then I wanted to bring this back up only because Night Owl was giving you grief over it. But he wanted to say that your moment of the night was Joe Hendry. You're getting this twisted, Night Owl. That was my moment of the night because I'm the biggest Joe Hendry stan ever. Thank you. Thank you. And to anybody, I commented this earlier, so I can say this on the program now. Anybody who thinks this man is just an entrance, you're stupid. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. But you're stupid. And not only are you stupid, you're ugly, just like your mom. No, okay, now we're turning into the cat in the hat territory. But
well, I'm going to tell you this right now, Arsene, as we got this out here, and I got to throw this out here because of again, because of the Night Owl. Now he's going ahead and picking a fight here as we go on the Wrestle Talk podcast this evening here. And of course, now we're going to see if we can get it to pull up. And I want to use, of all things, and of course now it's not letting me bring things up, but talking about they use the celebrity appearances perfectly and were well timed. Here's my question. How do they use appearances? There was one. That was I Show Speed. One.
And if I can just comment on said appearance, by the way, not appearances, but I want to take the moment for a lot of the people, like, I don't want wrestling fans, especially ones who grew up in the 90s, to realize that you're being old man yells at cloud when you say, well, I don't know who this person is. Why are they even in the Rumble? And I just want to mention, who was a celebrity that we've seen appear in the Royal Rumble, specifically in the 90s, Luke Roberts? I think you can name them.
Repeat the question, because you kind of, I'm going to say on my end, I got a little bit of a technical hum here, but it's not your fault.
Who is a celebrity that we've seen appear in a Royal Rumble, specifically during the 90s? I think he had an interaction.
I'm going to go with the one, the only WWE Hall of Famer, Drew Carey.
Exactly. And like, no disrespect to Drew. Absolutely love this man. But if you ask anybody nowadays who that is, you're going to get a lot of blank stares, specifically children. I'm just saying. It's like, meanwhile, if you ask a little kid who I Show Speed is, I promise you they already know everything about him. So it's one of those things where, yes, I get it. You guys don't know who he is, but there's a lot of people who do. Specifically my fiance, because she hates him. So I guarantee you she's going to be counting those spears going to sleep tonight because she can't stand this man, and watching him eat shit was probably the best thing that could ever happen to her.
Well, you know something, Arsene? One of the things I'm looking at here, and again, we're talking Royal Rumble, we're talking the WTP here on the Wrestle Talk podcast this evening, but seeing a few pieces, things come across my newswire here, and I'm not going to throw the breaking news sounder here because there's a lot of things that are coming out of the Royal Rumble matchup, and one of them, and I know you and I have talked about it off air, is the official debut of Jordynne Grace as a member of the WWE roster. And right now, a lot of people have been talking, where is Jordynne Grace going to go? And right now, as it stands, as crazy as it sounds, most people right now, the only thing they're saying is that she's going to wind up in NXT. And I honestly feel that going to NXT is not going to help Jordynne Grace. I think Jordynne Grace is ready now. I think she needs to be on the main roster. And one begs to ask the question, with Jordynne Grace on the roster, do we hopefully, and again, it's because I really am fond of it, do we potentially down the road possibly see the one, the only, the octopus, Jonathan Gresham, possibly finding his way to NXT? I know you're a fan of both of them, Arsene, so let me go ahead and throw this to you. What do you think?
I couldn't agree more when it comes to Jordynne Grace. I honestly think she's, like you had mentioned, killer whale with small pond. I feel like that's where she's at. She's a very I feel like she's an established name at this point. I feel like people were expecting her to show up. So it's one of those things where her name value is there. I think NXT would be a step down. I think she needs to either be on SmackDown, or honestly, I think she should be facing Rhea Ripley. I mean, I don't like, if you want to hype her up, really give her like kind of a challenge and set her up as something. I'm not saying she should beat her for the championship, but I'm pretty sure it was a couple of shows ago, me and Haas were talking about this, that we need credible challengers for Rhea. And somebody like Jordynne Grace, you put her up on the main roster, you give her a couple people that you can feed her, maybe throw her into the Elimination Chamber so she can get her title shot or just something down the line, and you get a very credible threat for Rhea Ripley's World Championship. I genuinely think, especially because they're both powerhouses, so I just want to see these two just leather the shit out of each other when it comes to that. And you don't got to sell me on Jonathan Gresham, especially in NXT. I definitely think we need somebody, especially because I want him to run it back with Charlie Dempsey. So,
ooh, that'd be a good matchup for anybody from the 3/4 Catch Club. Anybody in that group, I think, would be good. And we're talking about Stephanie Vaquer as well. We're seeing here. I think that's another one to look at. The NXT women's roster. I mean, come on. I mean, it is literally a who's who when it comes to the women's wrestlers. And actually, as a matter of fact, Arsene, I just received some information that supposedly tonight we're going to see a team. Now, answer me this one. This is a team that you would never expect to be together. Zarya and Sol Ruka. What are your thoughts?
Who put the bottle down? No, I mean, it's not my first choice, but it's definitely something. And I will say this. Here's what I will say. NXT is the place for odd couple tag teams. When it comes to people that we don't expect or we don't see coming when it comes to tag teams, NXT is the place where they seem to thrive, and we get some. I mean, look at their tag team champions, for Pete's sake. I mean, did anybody think Fraxium was going to be a thing when they first formed?
Fraxium?
Yeah. They didn't have a name before. It was just, it was Axiom and Frazier.
Fraxium?
Yeah.
Hold on a minute here. Fraxium?
Yes. Did I stutter?
No, but
I should have said
Fraxium? I'm not trying to sound bad, but it seems like they've been everywhere but NXT. I mean, we see them more on TNA than we do on NXT.
But that's not ignoring what the time that they spent when they were on NXT. Just because we're not seeing them now doesn't mean they weren't.
Nah, all I know is with all their time that they've spent.
My point, Luke, that I can see this odd couple being something special in NXT because that's where they go to live. They go to die on the main roster, but Vince McMahon is gone, so I think we have a chance.
Well, you know something? I just got to throw this one out here because you just went there. Damn! I got to tell you right now, Arsene, you are talking about a lot of things that are definitely on all cylinders here tonight. Couple other ones I want to throw out here. And this one has kind of been out there, and I think it's kind of surprising to me. Duke Hudson being released. I think there's a huge upside to Duke Hudson. I really do. And I think he was really a cornerstone of what kept Chase U going. And now we got Duke Hudson that's gone. Nobody's heard from Riley Osborne. You've got Thea Hale, who's kind of doing her own thing, and nobody knows where Andre Chase went. So, it's one of those where Duke Hudson really was the glue holding Chase U together. And now, and it was very quiet too. A lot of people didn't know that Duke Hudson was gone. What are your thoughts about this, Arsene? Because I really think that Duke Hudson has a huge upside. And do you think WWE maybe missed the boat with Duke Hudson?
I definitely think they missed the boat. I think you described it perfectly in the fact that he was the glue that held them together. Like, we're not hearing about Chase U anymore. Like, everybody's just scattered. Like, the pieces are all gone, and then I feel like there's a noticeable gap. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like when you take the one action figure from the back row, but that was the thing that kind of solidified it. And then you just kind of look into it, and then it's like you can see the noticeable gap. And it's just like, it's missing. There's something that bring him back, WWE. I don't know what you have to do, but bring him back. I miss Duke Hudson.
Well, you know something, Arsene? Who knows? Maybe he'll be one of those where they'll let it go 89 days and send him to TNA.
That's a strong possibility now. Like, there's an active part. Oh my God, dude. Okay, I just want to take a moment to say this because I always have to bring this up every time we do a show because wrestling is we are gifted as wrestling fans for what we have, and anybody who's bitching and moaning can shut up. You don't deserve this. But the fact that, like, think about how fake this would have sounded like 2 years ago. Think about where we were in like 2020 when we were talking about wrestling, and now it's like, oh yeah, no, WWE's partnered with TNA and Pro Wrestling Noah, and we're getting stars there. Like, and I want to mention this only because of this comment right here. AJ Wallace, he says, can we get a chance to see MLW and WWE teaming up with TNA and NXT? In this day and age, AJ, we just might. We just might. If anything, we got to pull strings and ask Dombrowski to, help us out, please. I will get on my knees on camera. I'm telling you. Like, I can do that.
Well, you know something, Arsene, I'm going to throw this out here. And again, I'm not even going to go with the Joe Dombrowski being here in about 10, 12 minutes here on the program. Right now, we're hoping everything can be taken care of and done. But I think it's one of those right now. That's a question we could ask him. As you sit here and you look at it, nobody would expect in 2025 for WWE and TNA to be working together. Nobody would expect for AEW to own Ring of Honor and be working with CMLL and New Japan. You kind of have, and this sounds strange, you've almost got MLW kind of being an island of themselves, but either product, whether you're talking AEW, WWE, either would be crazy not to find a way to work something out with MLW. And again, I'm going to spin things here, but before we do, I want to go ahead and bring up one. And again, thank you for bringing these all up here. And I want to give a comment here that the Night Owl brings up. does Jacob Fatu's appearance in the Royal Rumble take away from his allure? My answer, sorry, thanks for playing. I think that makes Jacob Fatu even more because I had somebody bring this up, and it was the idea, and it wasn't a broadcast colleague, it was a casual fan. And it was brought up that everybody had seen that Jacob Fatu stood up in front of, the fans would go, ooh. And again, just the idea of some of the names that he was standing side by side with, there is just so much potential with Jacob Fatu. And I'm going to tell you, every time I was sitting there going, this was the one that gave him an opportunity. And I really think also the Royal Rumble kind of changing things up here is also the idea of what about Penta coming out number 2? And he had a real strong showing in the Royal Rumble. I mean, again, there's a lot of good things that we have here. And we're going to go ahead and take that up here. And then I'm going to have to ask a fan question here. Something I don't think we've ever done in High Spots, but I'm going to go ahead and go to you. What do you think about Jacob Fatu's performance in the Royal Rumble?
It's so hard to put on it because it's like, I agree with you only in the sense that I think he did what was necessary. But I guess my biggest question is the only thing that it left me with is where do we go from here? Because we obviously knew he couldn't win. And I think he did a pretty good job because what was it? Somebody actually calculated the numbers, which, by the way, I want to say I love the new presentation for the Royal Rumble. I like the numbers on the bottom. I think the stats and the tracking helps out a lot. It's one of those things where WWE production goes a very long way. Him and Roman, I believe, were tied for most eliminations. So I think that was good as far as the showing goes. Part of me kind of wanted him to clean up house a little more, though. Like, I don't know, either that or to set him up. I think mostly because I'm trying to remember because Roman got eliminated with everybody else, right? It was like a really big schmoz or whatever.
There were a lot, and again, just to give you an idea, as we go to the men's Royal Rumble matchup, and again, bringing up the information here, here is the surprising thing, and I'm going to throw this one out here to you. Roman Reigns comes in and eliminates 4. Jacob Fatu eliminates 4. Here is my thing, though. Roman Reigns takes 37 minutes to eliminate 4 people. Jacob Fatu does it in 24 minutes. And again, want to give a shout out as well that we talk about it. Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu, most eliminations in the men's matchup. And actually, I'm going to throw this out here because I know they were talking about it on the program. Remember when they had that great big giant cluster of women's wrestlers and they the WWE gave Nia Jax credit for all of them? It was like a 6-person elimination.
Which I don't understand that at all. Like, that was a whole flustercuck.
But it's one of those where we've got a lot of things that are being taken care of. And again, looking at it from the official stats, they wound up giving people the opportunity to the idea of giving, I guess, whoever last made contact, I guess, is what they're going to give the credit for the elimination. But then again, it's WWE, and they make their own little statistics on some things and go from there.
Yeah,
now,
if we're getting anal about fake statistics in the fake sport, then I think we gotta. Our priorities are a little wrong.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gabriel Arsene, he's available for private events. He's also available for 7-9 and an adults only show at 11:30. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we go right here, I want to actually bring this one up because I don't think I've ever had this one. And a shout out to the maestro for pointing this out to me. Talking about the masks I have behind me. In all the years I've been on the Wrestle Talk podcast, I don't think I've ever had anybody ask me that question. And thank you, Donnie, for that question here. As we roll back here into the wonderful Luke Roberts cabinet, and man, I had one of them fall down. That's not cool. Starting here, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was I want to say it was Abismo Negro. Then we have Octagon. We have a mask autographed by the Grappler. Blue Demon, one of the greatest Lucha Libre. Rey Mysterio. We have Dr. Wagner. We have not Hysteria, Ultimo Guerrero. And then we had one that was I'm gonna hold this one off for a minute. This other one, I'll be honest, I've forgotten because my wife actually went on a vacation to Prosecco and a couple other Progresso and a couple other places in Mexico and got this one. But this one here, and I'm going to show this one on the camera. So hold on, I got to get actually on the camera here. I actually purchased this at a restaurant in West Virginia.
They just had it there?
Yeah, because it was a Mexican restaurant. But what was cool is this restaurant had, you know how a lot of times when you'll see like those little spin around racks with hats and such?
Did they have
this? They had probably 40 or 50 lucha masks. And they were all for sale.
That is amazing. That is.
And when you're on vacation and your wife tells you go pay the bill and you have to walk by there to pay the bill, let's just say that my wife didn't let me use the credit card too much more on that vacation to get that taken care of. But again, I have to say I am a huge collector of wrestling masks. Really anything wrestling. I mean, again, you can see all the books that are behind me. I know we talked about it last time I was on the program as I'm knocking everything over here in my mobile studio here. Talking about our good friend Vinny Berry, former guest of the show, Lance by Chance, also the Wrestleville books. You can get those taken care of. Another one we talked about last time we were here, the Arn Anderson book, Arn Anderson Forever. If you haven't got this, you definitely want to make that a book to add to your collection. Also, we have the one, the only John Cosper from EatSleepWrestle.com, another longtime friend of the show. A lot of great books that he has available. My most recent purchase was this one here with Karen McDaniel, the Wahoo book, a great read. Also, and I know that you and I are going to have a conversation about this once the show goes off the air. My most recent read, Crazy Like a Fox, about the life of Brian Pillman. So, again, a lot of great reads. You going to be okay, RC? It looks like you're about ready to explode.
I'm nostalgic, man. You can't show me a Brian Pillman book. Like, I swear.
Wait a minute.
I know this is like
this Brian Pillman book?
He was born in the 90s, but like, just I think about Brian Pillman a lot. Like, I think about how this dude was just like the most Ocean's 11 plan in pro wrestling history ever. This dude was so innovative, and I just like, and it just all just golden sand through the fingers, man. I think about you think about a lot of what ifs in pro wrestling, right up there. Like, good gracious.
Well, you know something? First of all, the Wrestle Talk podcast throwing out the question, would you grade Skywalker's wrestling collection? And this is just a part of it. I haven't even broken open the secret vault, as Jim Cornette would say, of wrestling memorabilia. And in here, again, just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by the one, the only Joe Dombrowski from MLW, from Major League Wrestling. And now tell you what, Arsene, you're here, you're joining us. And again, you want to talk about nostalgia, and hopefully I don't fall off camera here. Let's see here. If they're going to talk about my collection, I do have to say probably my piece de resistance in my collection. Bear with me. Something that I really feel fortunate for. I don't think I've ever shown this on camera before. And Arsene, this may be a little before your time, but
they don't call me the young lion with the old soul for nothing. Oh my God, look at that. I'm jealous. Oh my goodness gracious. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Like I said, that's a part of the collection. Now, Arsene, you yourself, being a longtime resident of the state of Florida, call it home. My question to you is this. You yourself said it. Number one, or number two.
You're pulling out all the stops here tonight, Roberts. Oh
Hey.
my God. That's the okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. That is the Nikita Koloff version.
Yes, sir. Right there. We're going to go ahead and we're going to throw. If we're going to throw that out there, and I'm going to level with you, you talk about my wrestling collection. You talk about all the cool things. I mean, again, bear with me. I'm going to see if I can actually, I know I've shown this one on camera before. I won that right there at the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony. As you saw earlier on. Hold on, see if I can go ahead and put it back up there. Come on, cooperate with me, camera. There we go. My all-in poster, but my piece de resistance. My wife got it for me for Christmas. And Arsene, I want you on camera. You're going to have to be side by side here because this one's going to be one where you're going to have to make sure we've got things taken care of. Let me pull you side by side.
The reveal on that was perfect. I just want to take a quick moment here. My mother-in-law wanted to step in and say hi, Wrestle Talk Podcast family.
Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, another member of the Wrestle Talk Podcast family. And like I said, when you talk about the collection,
Yes.
I mean, again, this is not just a few days kind of a collection. This has been one that I've accumulated pretty much over the bulk of my life. And again, a lot of people talk about how professional wrestling, how it's changed, but being able to learn about Lucha Libre, to learn about New Japan, to learn about but I'm actually, matter of fact, I haven't got a chance to read it yet, but I now have definite access to a copy of the Goldust Trio, which is a very hard book to come by. I have it in a digital form, and I'm looking forward here in the next few weeks to get a chance to really look at it. But again, when you talk about pro wrestling, and I want to give a shout out to my good friend of all people, Herb Simmons. Herb Simmons has had a lot of things that have kind of been there, and I'm gonna tell you, I have a decent wrestling collection, but there are a few people I really idolize. One of which is Herb Simmons. He has a lot of the old books from people of the old Wrestling at the Chase days and things along the line. Another one which is going to surprise you, my good friend, Mr. Big, Midwest Independent Wrestling Hall of Famer. Again, shout out to him. Also, his son has continued in the journey of professional wrestling. And a former guest of the program, Slammer. If you ever have an opportunity, ask him to show you his wrestling figure collection. The man has more wrestling figures than probably you have days in a decade. I mean, he's got figures upon figures upon figures of things. So right now, I mean, again, a lot of great things that he has available to him. Now, real quick here, and I know he's here somewhere around. I know I said we were going to talk to him earlier on, and I know that we're going to make sure we do that here. Hold on one second here. I'm going to see. We've got one backstage. I know we're going to be hopefully joined here in the next couple minutes by MLW's Joe Dombrowski, a very accomplished broadcaster. Hold on one second here. I'm going to see if we can get that here. I know he's backstage, and now it's the idea of where maybe it's one of those where he has to, he's making sure that everything is set up for our broadcast colleague here in just a minute. Let me see here if I can go ahead and I'm trying to see if I can get some information here. Bear with me here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have some good news and some bad news. Due to circumstances beyond our control, Joe Dombrowski will not be able to join us here tonight on the program. Something has come up beyond his control. I did receive an email from Major League Wrestling stating that it was something beyond his control. He was actually scheduled to be on the program here this evening. He has made an agreement with us, though, that he will come back on the program. Again, this came from MLW directly. This did not come from a media department. This did not come from a Facebook or a Twitter or things along the line. This came from MLW directly. So again, we want to wish Mr. Dombrowski all the best. Hopefully we can get that worked out to where he can come back on the program. But have no fear. Because of the fact that Mr. Dombrowski is not going to be able to join us, we cannot be remiss if we don't talk. And again, this is you and I, two friends, talking about MLW. Now, when you talk about MLW and you talk about the WTP, the resident MLW guru is that guy right there, Gabriel Arsene. Now, Arsene, I want to take a minute here, and considering that I consider myself to things that are here when we talk about the Wrestle Talk podcast. Okay? Let's talk Super Fight 6. Let's talk about the events going to be taking place on February 8th, which is just a couple days away, at Center Stage in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, we know full well, as we talk about things here, we've got a lot of things going on. But let's talk MLW. And as we can look at things right now, there are a lot of great matchups that are going to take place. And we're going to start off with talking about a matchup between Kevin Knight and Kenta. Two individuals who are very accomplished inside the squared circle. And Arsene, I'm going to turn things over to you because I know that you know both men extensively well. And I want to go ahead and turn it over to you to start our discussion about this matchup that'll be taking place this coming Saturday night at MLW's Super Fight 6.
Thank you for giving me the reins on this one. We are in for a treat, ladies and gentlemen. A real mashing of styles with one, the Jet, Kevin Knight, and one, Kenta. I can't tell you guys how excited I am for this. Like, just as a whole, you can definitely expect a lot in terms of the springy, jumpy variety from Kevin Knight. I mean, I don't know how this man does it. He can pivot in midair. It is like he makes it look like he's got a steering wheel and he can just turn whenever he wants to. And it's absolutely emphatic. As soon as he starts building momentum, it's really hard to pin him down. That's where he shines. That's where he thrives. But if anybody can do it, Kenta can. I thankfully had the opportunity to see this man wrestle firsthand, and he is a tough individual to put down. I mean, even looking at like Donovan Dijak, he had to have St. Laurent interrupt the match in order for him to get the kill shot in because Kenta is just that difficult to beat. So if Kevin can stick and move as best as he can, he might get a chance, but it just takes one GTS to end it. And if not that, then it's game over, which both literally and figuratively in the sense that once he locks it in, you're done. But that's just me.
Well, right now, Arsene, I mean, again, you talk about how Kevin Knight is taking on Kenta. And I'm more of looking at it from the other side of the coin. Kenta is accomplished worldwide. Kevin Knight is really going out there. And again, we bring up the graphic here for Super Fight 6, which is going to be taking place this coming Saturday. Now, as we look at things here, and we'll go ahead here in just a second and pull the graphic down so we can go ahead and continue our discussion. Hold on just a second here. I'm going to see if we can go ahead and get that done. Perfect. We're good to go. I think this is a matchup that Kevin Knight's got to prove something. And this is saying something knowing I agree with you. The man is phenomenal in the ring. But you're going against Kenta, a man who basically has gone out there with a who's who of professional wrestling. Talk about wrestling in Japan. Been there, done that. You talk about ROH. Been there, done that. Talk about NXT. Been there, done that. You talk about Bullet Club. Been there, done that. This is a matchup that Kevin Knight has to deliver. And right now, if he is not on it, Kenta is going to run right through him. And again, it's going to be a great matchup that we're going to see as a part of MLW Super Fight 6 this coming Saturday night. Next matchup. And I'm really bummed out that we weren't able to have Mr. Dombrowski here because I had a couple of questions on this matchup. Paul London and Brett Ryan Gosselin, BRG. Now, I'm going to say this right now, and the Night Owl is probably going to send something here in just a minute, just because of the idea of what I'm going to say.
Wait, Brett Ryan Gosling, don't you mean Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
No, I wasn't meaning Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I was looking at it from the idea that BRG, and I've heard this conversation before, is one of the most, I can't even put it into words, how grating BRG can be. I've heard people say that he is more irritating. And again, this is not my words. This is words I have heard from members of the media. He is more irritating than 90s Paulie Dangerously. He is more irritating than 80s Jim Cornette. He's even more irritating. This is going to be a stretch of late 70s, early 80s Bobby Heenan. BRG just has this thing that he just rubs people the wrong way. But one thing that you got to say with him is he always has the rogue horseman in tow. You have Bobby Fish, you have Brock Anderson, and you have a man who, if you would tell me, and again, I have always been a fan of this man. Have you had a chance to see in recent weeks C.W. Anderson? He looks like he has stepped back in the time machine and he's back to even better shape than he was in ECW. I mean, he is just in phenomenal shape. But when you look at BRG, he brings all these things to the table. And is it me or does Paul London never age?
It seems like they're both like taking from the fountain of youth. Now that I'm thinking about it, like, did they just share it on weekends?
I don't know, man. I mean, when you sit there and you look at it, to me, if Paul London can find a way to neutralize the Rogue Horseman, Paul London is going to win. But anything to do with the Rogue Horseman, there's nobody that can stop him in MLW. The only one, actually, and I will say this, the only one I think that could even possibly stop them is one that's been near the top of the food chain in MLW for a while, and that being Contra. But outside of that,
honestly, that's just because nobody wants to deal with Contra. Like that.
Would you want to deal with Contra?
No.
Would you want to deal with Matt Kruger?
I'm not going to get racked up by those Sentai Death Squad people. Are you kidding me?
You don't want to. I mean, everybody.
Why do you think I was on the rafters during Blood and Thunder? I'm not trying to make eye contact with Minoru Suzuki. I know better.
Well, you know something, though? I got to say this, though, Arsene. You and I have had discussions. And while Minoru Suzuki is genuinely one of the most intimidating people that you would ever see inside the squared circle, you can't discredit the man's ability in the ring. I mean, he will go out there. He is almost like, and this is going to sound strange, but he's like a boxer in a wrestler's body. You hit him as hard as you can, he'll smile at you and hit you twice as hard. And I'll tell you right now, when you look at things and you talk about, it's kind of the reason why we're going to go to our next one, and it's the idea of talking about Janai Kai, the former featherweight champion, taking on Mila Moore. And I'm going to tell you right now, if there's anybody that's going to be a breakout star given the opportunity in any promotion that's fortunate to have her, that is Janai Kai. Janai Kai is scary good. And I'll tell you right now, other than Demi Exo, and you even saw it when she won the championship, Demi Exo was running out of ideas. The tools in the toolkit were just about gone.
Janai is the only person to kick out of a dummy driver. Like that puts. Think about what a dummy driver is, folks. It's a modified package pile driver. You're getting dropped on your dome, and the kick demon said, "No, I'm kicking out of 2." Who does that? Like,
nobody does that.
Janai Kai does that. That's the answer.
You know something? And I'm just going to throw this out here, Arsene. When you talk about Janai Kai, it's honest. You hear this all the time. Because Janai Kai is scary good.
Well, and not only is she scary good, Luke, she's scary good with a task now. Before she was the champion, she was like, I'm going to push whoever I want around because I can. She gets to do what she wants because she's a badass and she's got the heat behind her to take care of it. But now it's like, you want to know why you're not supposed to touch the dragon's horde? Because you don't want a pissed off dragon. That's what Janai Kai is. Like, she's going to rain fire on anything that stands in her way. So like, I can't help but quote Taz here where it's what I'm at a loss for words just thinking about the aggression here on display is why.
Are we gonna look at the old Jim Ross quote? Business is gonna pick up.
Exactly.
There you go. Now another matchup, and I'm gonna tell you right now, if you haven't had an opportunity, this is a matchup that really intrigues me. That being a tag team matchup between Mystico and Mascara Dorada taking on Templario and Esfinge. I hope I said that correctly.
Esfinge.
Okay, I try. I mean, again, when it comes to Lucha Libre, I love watching Lucha Libre. I'm not always the best with names. This match has all the potential in the world to steal Super Fight 6.
I definitely agree. And I just want to take a moment to say, Night Owl, I've been working on my Español, señor. So it's Consejo de Muña de Lucha Libre. I've been working on it. So now I know this for the future. But I could not agree more. And I want to take the opportunity to say, not only does this have the chance to steal the show for Super Fight 6, but also shows a absolute amazing talent showcase in their recent signing of Templario. I mean, I am currently unfamiliar with the workings of this man, but just on debut alone, just on the hype trailer, the vignette, I'm definitely curious if they're treating him just as well as they treated Mystico. I'm excited. That's all I can really say is that I can't wait to see what this man brings to the table. I can't wait to see that we have another challenger for Mystico's featherweight championship, or excuse me, middleweight. Let me clarify. These are weight divisions. And we're getting really familiar with a lot of the names here. I mean, especially with Místico, Máscara Dorado, Templario, Esfinge. I mean, these are all very good names. But I mean, you can't go against the champ, right? I mean, it's a debut or not. But I mean, who knows? Let's be real here. This is a debut, so this is like you got all that momentum going behind you. People are hyped. I mean, Nakamura won his debut in WWE, or rather in NXT, so maybe Templario this sets up his match with Mystico in the future. You never know.
Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you right now, I mean, these four men have the opportunity to steal the show. When you get an opportunity, and that's one thing I got to give a shout out to Cesar Duran and all the folks at MLW, they allow Lucha Libre to truly be on display. And I got to tell you, I'm really impressed with what all of the wrestlers, when you go middleweight, open weight, when you look at all these wrestlers that are coming in and wanting to make a statement in MLW, they're the ones that are stepping up and taking care of it. Now, the next thing I want to look at here, and this is a matchup, and I know our scene, you and I are going to agree to disagree on this matchup. And it's not because we don't get along. It's because of our differing views on this matchup. The Dijak Hijack, Donovan Dijak, taking on a member of the Filthy Bros, Filthy Tom Lawler. These two men have been wanting to go at it for months. Dijak and St. Laurent have been causing all sorts of havoc within MLW. Filthy Tom Lawler is now back with his bro, Matt Riddle. This matchup right here is going to be one of those people have been begging, pleading for. And we're going to get to see this as a part of Super Fight 6. Your thoughts, and then I'll give my thoughts. I want to give you, the young lion with the old soul, I want to give you the opportunity to talk first about this matchup.
The thing about this, right? In an all-out match, no shenanigans, just good old rough and tumble as we know it, and what's what in the squared circle in the world of professional wrestling. I think Tom Lawler takes Donovan Dijak to the limit and scores the W. However, that is not what is going to happen in Super Fight. At the end of the day, whenever you're facing somebody, specifically the constituent of one Saint Laurent, you always have to have eyes in the back of your head. And I think about even for somebody like the likes of Kenta, you may be good, but you're not better than two people. And at the end of the day, Dijak's got the man on the outside. So unfortunately, Tom, I love you. You might have to have a stroke of luck, or you might have to have somebody else with you. Hopefully Riddle will be there, but unfortunately I don't think he will, because he's going to be defending his championship the very same night. So I have to give the edge to Donovan Dijak.
Well, you know something, Arsene? First of all, and I mean, again, you and I, we have similar opinions in the world of pro wrestling. But the first thing I want to share is this.
Very, very impressive.
You look at it from a perspective, you know what's up. And again, I would agree with you. Saint Laurent and Donovan Dijak bring something to the table. They bring a very important piece of the puzzle to the table. But the problem is, you don't know what Filthy Tom Lawler you're going to get. When Tom Lawler is on, there is not a person on the MLW roster, sans maybe a Minoru Suzuki, maybe a Matt Riddle, that is going to match Tom Lawler. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think Saint Laurent winds up costing Donovan Dijak. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. And I'm going to say this. We're going to continue to see the Dijak Hijack in MLW. But after Super Fight 6, it will not be with Saint Laurent. Filthy Tom Lawler wins.
Interesting.
So, I mean, again, it's one of those where, again, a very, very much anticipated matchup. Now, Arsene, I'm actually going to go ahead here. We don't have the graphic right now at this second, but I do want to go ahead and I want to throw this out here, and I'm going to leave it up here for a bit because you're talking main event Super Fight 6 for the MLW Championship. Matt Riddle versus Satoshi Kojima versus, I would say, the cornerstone of the Bumaye Fight Club, Alex Kane. This matchup right here, after Kings of Colosseum, has taken on a completely new dynamic. And we're going to break each one of these individuals down. The first one we're going to throw out there is Alex Kane. And I'm going to tell you right now, if there's anybody who you don't want to mess with in 2025, with all the things that have gone on as of late, it is Alex Kane. This is a man that will go out there. He can punch you out. He can throw you and drop you on your head. He's one of those guys you do not want to meet up with in any way, shape, or form.
More than that, he'll choke the life out of you. Like I was fortunate enough to have media credentials. He's pretty cool with me, but I don't want to be on the wrong side of Alex Kane. I can promise you that much. It's not a good weekend in my book.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And again, you also have to throw out the idea of how his mindset is since Eric Bischoff fired him. That's one. And again, think about how I'm saying that. Eric Bischoff on MLW television at a live event fires Alex Kane. That is basically lighting the fuse. Would you agree?
I think we're beyond the fuse being lit here. I think we're beyond the fuse being lit at this point. We're just waiting for the fireworks to go off, especially because now we know. I believe he's going to show up at Super Fight 6, if I'm remembering correctly. So I don't look forward to what Alex Kane is planning to do against Eric Bischoff if he gets his hands on him.
Well, you know something? I mean, again, there's a lot of fans that are very much looking forward to seeing what Alex Kane can bring forward to Super Fight 6. Now, the second one we talk about, Satoshi Kojima. I'm going to tell you right now, if any wrestler has staying power in the world of pro wrestling, Kojima has been that guy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you also talk about he had a very storied tag team with the likes of Hiroshi Tenzan. I mean, again, former champion of MLW, winning the championship again after, what was it, 20 years?
Somewhere in that ballpark.
Just an insane amount of time, and still able not only to win the championship, but be the same kind of a champion he was when he won it the first time.
Well, and just look at the names he's had to conquer in defending for said belt. He beat Tom Lawler how many times? You know, Black Hand of Contra, Mads Kruger. I mean, he got the belt off of Kane in the first place. How many people can say that? I mean, just the Minoru Suzuki. It's a very, like, the fact that Matt Riddle was able to beat him in the first place is nothing short of incredible, but it just takes one lariat. I mean, or excuse me, lariato.
Well, you know something, Arsene, and now you've made it a point to bring this up, and I want to go ahead and I want to look at this for a second. When you talk about it, he was, and this is crazy, but he was the second MLW champion. The first one officially on record was Shane Douglas. And he held it for 90 days and then vacated the title. Satoshi Kojima, in his first reign as MLW champion. Defeated the likes of Mr. Ganase, Jerry Lynn, Otani, Vampiro, Johnny Smith, Kotaro Kanemura, and John Tenta. I mean, that's a huge statement right there in the first reign. Held the title for nearly 270 days. Held it the second time for just under a year. And you add it with the likes of Minoru Suzuki, Bad Dude Tito, one called Manders, Tom Lawler, Mads Kruger, Ultimo Guerrero. I mean, come on. That's a who's who in any wrestling avenue. And just to give the fans an idea here, when you talk about Alex Kane, just throw it out there. Hammerstone, Willie Mack, Tom Lawler, a victory over Jacob Fatu, Matt Cardona. Let's see what else here. Richard Holiday. I mean, a lot of great wrestlers there. So Alex Kane is not a slouch by any stretch. But surprisingly enough, the MLW heavyweight champion, the King of Bros, Matt Riddle, is one of those individuals that when you sit here and you look at it, it took him years to get there. I mean, that was the story of what it takes for Matt Riddle to get to the championship. And when you look at this, when you look at the championships, you look at everything that's been held. Matt Riddle, and going back here, and I'm going back, and again, thank you to the media department for getting this taken care of so quickly. Matt Riddle has never held championship gold in MLW prior to winning the MLW championship. And Matt Riddle, I mean, he'll bring any style you want. But you know what I think? There's two wild cards here. One is Kojima wanting to be a 3-time champion. I think a wild card is the idea of Alex Kane wanting to basically cram it down Eric Bischoff's throat. And you know what I think the biggest factor is going to be?
The fact that
and you're not going to believe that I'm going to say this, Arsene.
What's that?
The MLW Tag Team Championships. Here's why. Even though Kojima has lost the heavyweight championship, he is still a champion in MLW. If you go back and look at the history here of Kojima, and I'm just kind of scrolling through here, a former and current 2-time MLW Tag Team Champion. And I think, honestly, that comes back to catch him at Super Fight 6. I genuinely do. My prediction right now, and I'm just going to throw it here simple and to the point. I think Matt Riddle will walk out of Super Fight 6 still the MLW World Heavyweight Champion. Your thoughts, Arsene?
I do want to mention, just because I was the one who brought it up, that it being a triple threat match, it is not the kind of match a champion wants to find themselves in, because at the end of the day, they don't need to pin you to win the championship. And that is a huge factor here when it comes down to it, because we're sort of in a rock, paper, scissors situation, because you may have to confirm or deny for me if Alex Kane has ever beaten Matt Riddle or vice versa. But we have it in which that Satoshi Kojima beat Alex Kane, but Matt Riddle beat Satoshi Kojima. So it's a situation in which Kojima doesn't need to beat Riddle to win his belt back. He just has to beat Kane, and he's done it already. Having said that, in this kind of match, you've said it yourself, Riddle is the kind of person where he can adjust his style to what needs to be done. I mean, just looking in this past year alone, he's already had regular matches. He had the no rope match with Sami Callihan. I mean, we had the Valle Tudos match. It's a thing where he knows how to adjust, and I feel like if anybody can get out of this, who understands to have your head on a swivel, to really keep track of what's happening, knowing when to strike, knowing when to get into the moment, to retain your championship, it's the King of Bros, Matt Riddle.
Well, you know something? One way you're going to be able to find out all this great action is make it a point. Check out MLW Wrestling or MLW.com. Also make it a point to check out their YouTube channel because a lot of great things have been popping up on their YouTube channel. And a shout out to MLW. I mean, again, you've had an opportunity to see him live at events. Again, shout out to our great friends over at MLW for making sure that we've had the opportunity to be in attendance. Again, any one of those three individuals could walk out of Super Fight 6 with the MLW championship. And it wouldn't surprise us because, I mean, again, any number of things. I mean, and you know, and I still throw out this wild card, and we've totally left that one off the radar. Who's got that guaranteed contract? Mads Kruger, leader of Contra Unit. Imagine the war that these three men could have. And then Mads Kruger can walk in and basically just call a shot.
We know Eric Bischoff's going to be there too, so
that is true. That is very much true. But like I said,
I'm worried about that happening.
Well, you know, though, that's why, I mean, again, to look at, that's why Contra Unit has been so dominant for so long, is because of the fact that MLW, I mean, again, Contra Unit made it their playground for a long time. And again, when you've got, I mean, you got people like Minoru Suzuki, you've got Kwan, you've got Mads Kruger. I can't think of the guy's name. He and again, I'm just going to throw this at you. He used to be what is his name now? Simon. He was a part of Contra Unit. Used to be a vaudevillain.
Simon Gotch?
Yeah, but what he had a different name because you can't use Simon Gotch in MLW. That's kind of a trademark thing. And,
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I just remember Simon Gotch.
Right. But I mean, again, he was in he had some time within Contra Unit as well. A lot of great things there, but I mean, again, we could see that very much happen as well. And I mean, I hope not, because Mads Kruger is just out there to me. I mean, I've seen the man get gusset plates pounded to his skull, and he just looks at you, and he has that look like it's kind of like, and I had a friend of mine tell me this once. It was like what was it? There's a character in Mortal Kombat that they liken Mads Kruger to. I can't remember which one they liken to, but basically it's one of those where you would go out there and just basically
right now he reminds me of Reptile just because of the green mask.
Yeah, but same token too, he would go out there. I mean, again, he could leave anybody basically just flat on their back in the middle of the ring. And I mean, again, it's one of those things where when you sit down and you look at it, it's a very tough thing to look at. But, and again, you mentioned it too, was the idea that Eric Bischoff's going to be at Super Fight 6. What are your thoughts about, do you see Eric Bischoff pulling any more? I mean, he's been talking on the phone with this mysterious person. Do you have any insight on that, Arsene? I mean, again, you are the Wrestle Talk Podcast MLW correspondent. Do you have any ideas what they're talking about?
I haven't a clue, Luke. I mean, they gave me just because I have credentials doesn't. There's even things that I don't hear about. All right, they keep that under wraps. That is under lock and key. And if anyone were to know, I think it's going to be Eric Bischoff, and I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be revealed at Super Fight 6. but also I have a very gut feeling about it somehow tying into what's going on with Cesar Duran, but that's just me speculating. But I'm sure all things will be revealed in due time. I'm just wondering what exactly is in store for MLW in the future.
Well, right now, as it stands, I mean, when you sit there and you look at it, I mean, there's a lot of things that we're going to be looking at as it relates to MLW going forward. And again, there's a lot of things you look at it right now. Wrestling is, I mean, it's on a roll. I mean, you have all these promotions that are now starting to interact with one another and starting to go out and kind of exchange talent, exchange different wrestlers. And I mean, again, would you have imagined this 20 years ago? Probably not. Could you imagine this 2 years ago? I don't think so. But when you look at it, I mean, it's definitely a different time, and it's very much welcome here. And again, for those who are tuning in to join Joe Dombrowski, he had we got a message from MLW during the show. He was not able to attend tonight, but he will be joining us in the future. We're going to get that squared up, so hopefully we can have him on here in the next couple weeks to talk MLW and talk about things like. And then I can finally ask my question about, is BRG that much of a help me with a word here, friend? That much of a
pain in the neck?
No, it needs to be a little stronger than that.
Irritation?
We're getting closer. But when you sit here and you look at it, I mean, we're going to get a whole bunch of different things we get to talk about as it relates to MLW. Now, real quick here, I do want to switch gears for just a minute. And I was going to mention this at the top of the show, but I didn't get an opportunity. I know a lot of our Wrestle Talk fam often makes it a point to go on to social media. And I want to share something that was brought to my attention yesterday afternoon. And I want to give a shout out to a gentleman who's really been on a roll in the MMWA, that being the Night Stalker Scar. I know a lot of people have been paying attention on social media. He suffered a very serious injury outside of the ring. I know that I'm just going to level with the fans here. I know that he actually had to have, if my understanding is correct, and actually I'm going to go ahead and see if I can pull it up here on social media, that he actually had to have eye surgery. Supposedly there was some issues with due to the injury. It wasn't not only vision issues, but there was also blood around the eye. A very serious injury. This is not in any way, shape, or form a storyline or anything along the line. One of the things I will say is this: in my travels throughout St. Louis for the better part now of almost 36 years, I've met a lot of people compete inside the ring, and had an opportunity over the course of the last probably 2-3 years to really get to see what Scar has been able to do inside the ring. He's been to countless different promotions within the greater St. Louis and the Midwest. And I don't in any way, shape, or form, when you get in the world of professional wrestling, I don't ever want to see an individual, male or female, super heavyweight or cruiserweight, light heavyweight. You don't want to see anybody go down with an injury. None at all. there's no there, but the idea of things, I know that a lot of people in the St. Louis wrestling community have been keeping Scar in their thoughts. Actually, a matter of fact, I was trying to see here if I can pull up. I know that the MMWA, one of his regular promotions that he competes for, I wanted to go ahead here and see if I can bring up what's up here. The comment was that to keep the Night Stalker Scar in your thoughts and prayers. He suffered a horrific accident. He's again, just want to give a shout out to his family. I know he has a very long recovery road ahead of him, but I want to let him know that the St. Louis wrestling community, the professional wrestling community, has his back, and just want to give him a shout out here on the program tonight. Just tell him that we're all thinking about him, and hoping that he does get well soon. So, like I said, at this point, I want to go ahead here real quick and talk about all of our great sponsors, without who the Wrestle Talk podcast does not exist on a weekly basis. We talk about the Retro Zone in Kansas City. If you're a gamer, make it a point to check out the Retro Zone. You will not be disappointed. You got Painter Stream Production. If you need any website design, AV production, social media, book publishing, you name it, Painter Stream Productions. Make it a point. Check out Big Daddy P. A lot of great things. A longtime member of the Wrestle Talk podcast family. The Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. You can check them out on Sunday, June 22nd, 1 p.m. here at Andres Banquet Center in St. Louis, Missouri. A lot of great inductees going in. I mentioned a few of them at the top of the show. You've got a few more added to the list. You've got Bishop Stevens. You've got Jeremy Lightfoot. You've got Doc Lombardi. You've got Mark Bland, Ace Strange, Chris Knight. You've got I'm drawing a blank here. Doug O'Shea, Peggy Minder receiving awards as well. Ed Smith, a longtime personality with Wrestling with Chase and with the MMWA, receiving awards as a part of the Hall of Fame this year. Frank Reed, another longtime promoter here, receiving his induction into the Hall of Fame. Make it a point. Check him out on social media. Tickets $30 in advance, $35 day of the event. Interstate 70 Sports Media, home to the Maestro Jeremy Carp and Roundabout Sports. You can catch it every Wednesday night. A lot of great shows coming up here in the upcoming weeks. Also, Little Popeye Designs, having an opportunity, if you want to get one of those great Wrestle Talk podcast tumblers, they're available, $20 a piece. Make it a point to contact the Wrestle Talk podcast. They are going fast, limited supply. Once those tumblers are gone, they are gone, much like the Wrestle Talk mugs that are available. Make it a point to check them out and get those taken care of. And also, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. You make it a point to check them out on social media as well. Well, our team, as we can see right now, we're here live. We're in overtime here tonight. We're at 9:03. We're getting real close to that 2-hour mark. Any final thoughts here tonight on the Wrestle Talk podcast as we finish up episode 508?
I'm hoping to save this for when we actually have him on the program, but I also want to take this opportunity to say it just to get it out there. But MLW, Joe Dombrowski, please come back to Florida. Please, please. All of your lineups have been outside of. You've been going to Georgia. You've been going to New York. You've been going to Los Angeles. Please come back to Florida. I missed you guys out. We didn't get to catch you the last time because of the hurricane, and that's not your fault. That's Mother Nature being a bitch. But I just want you guys to come back. I would love to see it. I had a chance to meet Kenta. I need to meet Kenta. But other than that, that's all from me, Luke.
Well, you know something, Arsene. I mean, again, we're going to have the opportunity. Again, I want to give a shout out to MLW. They've always been a great friend of the Wrestle Talk podcast, giving us a lot of great interviews. And again, Joe Dombrowski will be joining us here in the the future. Also, as a reminder, if you have any interest in being a part of the FWWC, make it a point to follow them on social media. You can see at the bottom of the screen, Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide Chapter as a lot of people will tell you, it's the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. You can also make it a point as well. Hashtag Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide Chapter, hashtag FWWC. And last but certainly not least, as our brother, the Maestro Jeremy Karp, always talks about, and you can go ahead and point it down here at the bottom of the screen. We always talk about the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Dial 988. They're available 24/7, 365. Again, if you ever feel like you're alone, you ever feel like that the world kind of, it's at times a little bit too much to bear on your shoulders, make it a point. There's always somebody to listen, always somebody to talk to. They're available 24/7, 365. Whenever you have any kind of things like that, remember there's somebody that's willing to talk to you, willing to listen to you, and be there for you. Again, 988. Also make it a point, reach out to your friends, reach out to your family. I mean, again, we all get busy from time to time, but the fact is, if you're saying, hey, something's on my mind, something's bothering me, you can make it a point to talk with people, because that's what friends are for. That's what family's for. And again, I want to give a shout out to all the great members of the Wrestle Talk podcast family who've joined us here tonight on the program. At this point, I think that is pretty much it for this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself and Gabriel Arsene, the young lion with the old soul, I want to thank you for joining us. Make sure to follow us on all forms of social media, and we'll catch you back here with the next episode 509 of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Take care, and we'll see you soon.